Hey, what's going on, everybody? November 1st. We are in November, 4 days away from Election Day. We're in the closing minutes, everybody. We are now counting hours, no longer days, until the polls close here on the East Coast. Here in 2024, this election cycle is beginning to wrap up. We're beginning to get some numbers in terms of early voting. We're going to talk about how many people voted early, what we're seeing from the numbers, what the projections are from those who have been right before. Also, Mark Cuban doing his damnedest to not only sound like Rosie O'Donnell, but begin to look like Rosie O'Donnell. We're going to have some fun at the expense of Mark Cuban because apparently he thinks that there are no strong women out there who support Donald Trump. Rosie O'Donnell, of course, she went on another one of her tirades the other day. We're going to go over that and how she's one of the worst mothers in America. And in this day's installment of Who Did an Illegal Immigrant Rape or Kill Today, an illegal immigrant in Westbury, Long Island, which is 15 minutes from where I live, raped a 5-year-old girl. So we'll give you those details. I'm sure you don't want to hear them. However, that would be the part of the show you should share with your liberal sister-in-law who says these sorts of things are not happening. Before we get started today, guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. Let's pop that live chat up onto the screen. Angela, how are you? Deanna, how are you? Sleaze Auto, how are you? Great work, Jeremy Harrell, out there in, what the hell is Wisconsin? The cheese state? Something about cheese? I don't know. Green Bay, Packers, I don't really know. Great job, Jeremy Harrell, out there freezing his ass off. I'm sure, because for some reason I just have it in my head that Wisconsin is always cold. Greetings from North Carolina. What's up, Gigi? How are you? Hazel Kitty, what's going on? Want to welcome everybody in. If you're watching on Facebook, hit that like button, hit the share button, tag a friend in the comments. What's up, Uncle Richie? Also, we're going to have one of our viewers call in later in the show. And when we do, make sure the kids aren't listening because she's got quite the foul mouth. She's got quite the foul mouth. She's also very mean to me. So we're going to have one of our viewers call in. We're going to have ourselves a lot of fun. CQ, what's happening, Alexander? What's going on? What's going on? How about them Jets? They finally won. Yeah, well, as long as they throw the ball to Tank Dell, I don't really care. Arrow Pink says, my thumbnail is hilarious. Yes. Look, I've never seen Rosie O'Donnell and Mark Cuban in the same place. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying they're the same people. I'm not saying that Trump derangement syndrome has turned them both into fat lesbians. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying. Let's dive in, guys. Let's dive into the news. Once again, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. So, nearly 63 million votes have already been cast. More than 100 million people, more than 100 million voters went to the polls earlier for the 2020 election. Now, what does that mean? We'll break that down. Nearly 63 million Americans have already cast their vote ahead of the November 5th election. This according to Just the News. With just days to go before the election, 62,941,182 have already voted. That includes 33 million in person and 29,000 returned mail-in ballots. Some 66 million mail-in ballots have been requested as of Thursday, according to the University of Florida Election Lab Tracker. In states that party affiliation, in the states where party affiliation, Democrats cast 11.9 million early votes, while Republicans have cast 11.1 million, according to the tracker. More than 100 million voters went to the polls early in 2020. I'm curious to see how those early vote numbers pan out now that Republicans are basically, it's, 39% to 36%, basically tracking at the exact same pace as Democrats. Former President Trump and Kamala Harris are battling in the swing states elsewhere for the White House at the top of the ticket, also hanging in the balance of control over the other two houses. Most pollsters have reported this race a toss-up, though Polling Guru said his election models show Trump in the lead. Nate Silver's model shows Harris's odds of winning at 46.2 and Donald Trump's odds at 53.4. That's a very close coin flip, in other words, Silver wrote on Thursday. While Trump made meaningful gains in our forecast in mid-October, we don't think there's much sign that the race is continuing to drift towards him. So he's saying that Donald Trump has gotten what he's got so far. However, there is more good news for the Trump administration. The pollster who is the most accurate in 2020, claims that Donald Trump is going to sweep all the battleground states. This is interesting. I hate the way Hot Air writes this. I absolutely hate the way Hot Air writes this. Atlas Intel releases their final battleground poll showing Donald Trump winning all of the swing states, giving him a 312 to 226 electoral vote margin. The what is this? Atlas Intel, which was once again the most accurate in 2020, has Trump winning by Arizona by 5, North Carolina by 4, Nevada by 4, Georgia by 2, Pennsylvania by 1, Michigan by 1, and Wisconsin by a razor-thin margin of 0.3%. So if you're one of those cheeseheads out there, get to the polls. Bring someone to the polls with you. Bring more people. Find people. As a matter of fact, see how many seats are in your car, and that's how many votes you should bring with you to the polls. These numbers basically mirror the trends we see in the Real Clear Politics aggregate. The exceptions are stronger leads in Arizona, Nevada, and North Carolina. The 0.3% in Arizona, which is clearly a dead heat, result looks slightly better than Harris at 0.2% in the RCP average, and the +1 in Michigan, that's even more positive than Harris's current 0.5% in the RCP average. And we're beginning to see some trends. Here's Raheem Kassam on War Room talking about that.
Raheem, I think we've got your mic worked out. Give me your assessment of these numbers.
Yeah, do you have me?
Yeah, we got you.
All right. Thanks for having me, Steve. Look, you asked the question as to why Morning Joe felt the ability to spin, Charlie Kirk's tweets about getting more people out there and things like that. And look, it comes down to a lot of how the data is coming out right now, a lot of what we expect, a lot of what the graphs are showing us. And unfortunately, one of the best sources for this at the moment comes from NBC News. So you have to take it with a massive lump of salt. But what they're telling us, what the data shows us as far as their voter file data that's coming out is that in Pennsylvania, they claim about double the number of female Democrats, new voters specifically, are voting than, say, female Republicans. The numbers amongst men, pretty much the same, about ticking even between male Democrats and male Republicans. That is, again, new voters. The numbers, however, flip completely on their head when you go to a state like Arizona. What they're showing us in Arizona is that male Republicans are outstripping male Democrats by about 2 to 1, and that the female numbers are in about parity. That does make the case that obviously there is a lot of work to do in Pennsylvania. You can make the case, and you can break it down even further by age bracket that shows us actually that it's mostly older voters who are coming out and voting early. That leaves a huge chunk of, say, under 40-year-old voters who are either going to be on the day voters or simply not showing up at all. The Democrats will have to do a lot of work to get especially the 18 to 24 bracket out, which is really not represented at all in this early voting data that we see from NBC's election desk. So, you can spin it pretty much either way. Republicans will obviously say, look, our vote base is typically on the day. We have made some inroads into early voting. We've definitely made more inroads into new voters. And those two figures are critical, by the way, because if you were entering 2020, you would nowhere near see the numbers of early Republican voters. You would nowhere near see the numbers of new Republican voters that you're seeing right now. So there's great cause for optimism. At the same time, there is certainly no cause for complacency.
And Raheem, I want you to stick around because I want to get you back to the second hour. And Jack, I want to bring you back in with Charlie in the second hour. Raheem, did the Democrats build a firewall in the early voting in Pennsylvania? Yes or no?
No.
And why? Why you say that?
Because as I say, the It's not compelling enough. The gap is not compelling enough to make me go and panic right now. You expect this kind, especially with the kind of the Taylor Swift backing and all of that, you expect a level of new female Democrat voters. That kind of thing is built in. It will already be built into the Trump campaign's equation of how this is going to go. What you need here, however, is an on the day stubbornness, and on the day, if there's an issue at a polling station, Republican voters need to be told, do not get out of line, no way, no how, even if they tell you to, just don't leave, because those are the sorts of things that will take place. Mark my words, you're going to have hour, 2 hour, 3 hour long lines, electricity will go down, water pipes will burst, poll workers will say things that are fundamentally incorrect about when people can come in, how long they can spend in there, what they can wear in there, all that kind of thing. That on the day vote is going to be critical. And if even a couple of dozen in counties across Pennsylvania, Republican voters are somehow turned away or discouraged or bored or whatever it is, then you're looking at a hiding to defeat. Right now, with these numbers, this doesn't tell me that there's a firewall for the Democrats that's insurmountable.
No firewall for the Democrats that is insurmountable. And believe me, look, if there's one person I trust when it comes to breaking down polling data, it is, of course, Raheem Kassam. He's won elections on both continents. He absolutely understands the way the electorate works, both here and across the pond, as they would say. And Democrats are beginning to panic. As a matter of fact, they are even starting to point fingers at each other about why Kamala Harris may be losing. Before we get to that, we'll be right back.
The biggest benefit, honestly, has been with my skin. Skin was more hydrated, more radiant.
This is the best superfood that you could take.
It has all the essential nutrients you need for your skin, your gut, energy, focus, mood, performance.
My hair has gotten so much thicker ever since taking this.
I used to have a probiotic, a green juice that replaced it all with this Armra colostrum. It is amazing.
You gotta take it.
If you want to try it, try armra.com.
Guys, start feeling better today with the superfood formula over at tryarmra.com/LFATV. That's tryarmra.com/LFATV. Once again, I want to welcome everybody in who's watching. Let's get this live chat up onto the screen as the live chat begins to populate once again very soon. Actually, at the end of the show today, we're going to be joined by one of my crazy friends in the chat. Alma, how are you? Jan, how are you? William, what's going on? Tim Huff, how are you? Marissa, thank you for sharing this on X as always. Thank you. Redneck, what's going on? Bob R, how are we doing, guys? Rocking and rolling here 4 days and a wake up. Well, 3 days and a wake up till Election Day. Have you voted early yet? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat if you have voted early yet. How about a 1 for yes and 2 for no? Have you voted early yet? Do you live in a place that has early voting? If not, are you going to vote on Election Day? Are you going to bring somebody with you? Because that, as Raheem Kassam said, do not get off the line. Stay on the line. Remain on the line. Continue to be on the line. Do not let them go. Take out your phones and record it all. I'm liking it. I'm liking the response. A whole hell of a lot. I'm liking the response a lot. Things are looking good. Look at this. The chat is lighting up. I'm liking it. This is good stuff. So, Democrats are already beginning to start passing the buck, blaming each other as Democrats panic. Already assigning blame for the possible Kamala Harris loss. The inner turmoil among Democrats is from red state is already brewing with Election Day on the horizon and the inevitability that this will be a very close race. Democrats are looking to assign blame in the event Kamala Harris fails to defeat Donald Trump. Even though it is not clear yet who will win the White House on Tuesday, Democrats appear to be panicking about the prospect of losing to Trump. While some Democrats say they are increasingly hopeful about the win, others have expressed mounting frustration about the string of factors that have played the campaign from the onset. And we're going to talk about some of them in a second, whether it's Anna Navarro or whether it's Mark Cuban or whether it's Joe Biden calling all of us garbage. The finger pointing at Harris and her campaign when it comes to disappointment over a message, particularly on the economy. Some Democrats have already looked to pin the blame on President Joe Biden, saying, quote, people are nervous and they're trying to cover their ass and get ahead of Election Day. One Democratic strategist said of the sniping, it's based on anxiety. We didn't have a traditional process for this election. We didn't have a primary. People just had to fall in line. It's not surprising to me that some are playing the blame game ahead of Election Day. Bernie Sanders said as much during a September interview when he was asked about it. He said, quote, I don't think she's abandoning her ideals. I think she's being pragmatic and doing what she thinks is right in order to win the election, which, to me, sounds an awful lot like she's making things up in order to win. The Harris and Trump remain in a statistical dead heat, with Trump only ahead half a point in the RCP average. So, naturally, what are the Democrats doing? Well, they're going to the hoax machine. They're going to the hoax machine. And they've got a new hoax out there. They got a new hoax. The new one is that Donald Trump wants to put Liz Cheney on a firing line, in front of a firing squad. Yeah, well, first off, like they say, don't ever shoot a large caliber man with a small caliber bullet. So if you're going to take a shot at Liz Cheney, I hope you got one big ass bullet. Obviously, I'm kidding. But that is, of course, not what Donald Trump said. But MSNBC, CNN continues to claim he wants her in front of a firing squad. The left-wing media outlets, such as MSNBC, and I just want to say, I put it out before and I caught some heat for it. If you know someone who watches MSNBC, you should take solace in knowing that you're exceptionally smarter than them. Because the average MSNBC viewer is just dumb. Because they they latch on to these ridiculous comments that Donald Trump say, skew them out of proportion, and then claim he's radical and he's going to fire on his opponents. Here was Jeffrey Goldberg, along with a gaggle of other freaks out there, just making things up. And at the very end, we'll show you exactly what Donald Trump actually said.
I don't think you even need to call it fired upon. He's saying quite explicitly and unambiguously that Liz Cheney should be shot, should be executed by firing squad.
4 days out from Election Day, and former President Donald Trump is escalating his violent rhetoric, suggesting one of his most prominent critics, the former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, should be fired upon.
Your reaction to what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney?
Yeah, well, look, I mean, it was completely inappropriate, dangerous, and unbecoming of a leader. Mr. Trump was literally going after someone who doesn't agree with him. So it shouldn't be a surprise when people come on TV and feel the need to agree with him.
Says 9 barrels. When he says 9 barrels shooting at her, that obviously evokes images of a firing squad. It evokes images of an execution.
Let's execute a political opponent who happens to be a woman because I don't like her. And does that pull more low propensity voters in his coalition to the polls? I honestly don't think so.
Now we're going to play what he actually said.
I don't blame him for sticking with his daughter, but his daughter is a very dumb individual, very dumb. She's a radical war hawk. Let's put her with a rifle standing there with 9 barrels shooting at her, okay? Let's see how she feels about it. You know, when the guns are trained on her face. You know, they're all war hawks when they're sitting in Washington in a nice building saying, oh, gee, let's send 10,000 troops right into the mouth of the enemy. But she's a stupid person.
That's what he said. He said it's really easy to be a war hawk when no one's shooting at you. Which, I don't know, basically describes everyone in Congress, with the exception of 20 of them. You guys know, though, and I'm not talking about the veterans. You guys know what I'm saying. It doesn't take any courage to ship money overseas so that other people can die fighting your wars, be it in Israel, be it in Ukraine, be it in Taiwan, be it wherever the hell it is we're sending aid at all points. Because it seems like the only thing Congress can ever come together and agree on is that we need to kill more poor people somewhere around the world. In response, MSNBC's Joe Scarborough said because Liz Cheney objected to those riots, the way they were handled, she's now an enemy of the state to Donald Trump. On his closing weekend, he's calling for 9 guns to be pointed at her and execute her. Of course, that's not what he said, Joe.
It's General Mark Milley, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs, who Donald Trump also threatened with execution because he disagreed with Donald Trump on January the 6th. And he's one of the highest decorated, most highly decorated soldiers of this century. And they dismiss General Mark Milley as a meme. The Washington Post decides that when you have 2 of the most highly decorated soldiers of the 21st century, in Mark Milley and also in General John Kelly, that should be dismissed. So that's one side of the equation. The other side of the equation here is Donald Trump is talking about Republicans here. He's talking about somebody that had a 95 ACU rating, somebody who has been the conservative for years, so more conservative in every way than Donald Trump. And yet, just because she's disloyal to him, just because she said there's something deeply wrong with a commander-in-chief allowing riots to go on, refusing to stop those riots, and in fact, going into his dining room alone, staring and looking at some of the most violent parts of the riot, rewinding them, watching them again, rewinding them, watching them again, while his vice president and Secret Service detail are locked up in the basement, and his Secret Service detail, Mike Pence, is calling their families and saying they don't think they're going to make it out alive, while cops are getting their heads crushed inside doors, getting beaten up, getting clubbed almost to death, within inches of their death, having bear spray sprayed on them. This is what is so dismissed day in and day out and day in and day out. And that is what Liz Cheney objected to, which is what the Wall Street Journal editorial page objected to at one.
Who gives a shit about the Wall Street Journal's editorial board? Oh. Who cares what the Wall Street Journal editorial board thinks? These people are living in the 80s. The Wall Street Journal editorial board. Oh my God, what are we going to do? A bunch of overpaid economists, you know, the same ones that told you there would be no financial crisis because everybody paid their mortgage. Those people. Who gives a shit what they say? If you're working for a newspaper and you've got like a 12-graph column, yeah, I'm talking to you, Newsday. By the way, this morning I had to deal with some columnist from Newsday talking shit about me in my comment section. You're a columnist, bro. You and Kerry Bradshaw have the same job. Just want to put that out there. Because I know you're watching. Because you can't not watch. These people are deranged. And people are actually starting to fight back. We saw the other day with Ryan Gerdusky on CNN, who rightly called a terrorist and hoped that his beeper wouldn't go off, which, hey, terrorist gonna terror. What are you gonna do? But now we're seeing it happen even with the neocon establishment, old school people that think that writing for a newspaper is impressive. We're going to get to that in 1 second. Before we do, Mike Lindell.
You're still looking good.
I'm still feeling good. You know, I've got all your MyPillow products. Mattress topper, bed sheets, MyPillows, towels, slippers, blankets, sleepwear, dog
Whoa, Charles. Everyone now can get MyPillow products at huge discounts at MyPillow.com. That's right. Now's the time to go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to take advantage of our 3-in-1 sale. We're bringing you exciting new products, overstock specials, and closeout deals you won't find anywhere else. For example, when you buy one of our brand new MyPillow 2.0s, you get another one absolutely free. And with our overstock sale, you save 50% on our luxurious Giza Dream bed sheets. That's as low as $29.99 for the best sheets ever. And with our biggest closeout special, you get our all-season slippers for only $35. Or our sandals and slides for just $25. Quantities are limited, and once they're gone, they're gone.
Sorry. Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD, for up to 80% off everything on the website. That's MyPillow.com, promo code LOUD. So we saw it the other day. Republicans are beginning to fight back on some of these platforms, on some of these networks, on some of these areas where they've just become propaganda arms for the Democratic Party. Whether it was Ryan Gerdusky, after being called a Nazi, very obviously told Mehdi Hassan that he hopes his beeper doesn't go off because Mehdi Hassan is a terrible person who supports terrorism. Hey, what are you going to do? Things happen. Hugh Hewitt, a guy who, I don't know, maybe you care about his opinion if you're over the age of 80, walked off of the Washington Post live stream in the middle of it, calling it a propaganda ad for Kamala Harris.
It seemed like this week Donald Trump is laying the groundwork for contesting the election by complaining that cheating was taking place in Pennsylvania by suing Bucks County for alleged irregularities. And this is on top of his continual assertion that if he loses, it's because of cheating.
He's been laying the groundwork for this, just not in the last week, but in the last umpty-ump months. No election can be fair in Donald Trump's mind, unless Donald Trump wins it. And I think we are going to see him both rev up his supporters to contest elections outside of courtrooms and go to every courtroom he can in America where it's relevant to make whatever arguments he can, no matter how far-fetched. We saw
Jonathan,
that
I've
work
got
out last time, but it didn't work out this time.
Hugh.
It may not work. That may not happen this time. And now I'll let you go, Hugh.
Well, I've just got to say, we're news people, even though we're at the opinion section. It's got to be reported. Bucks County was reversed by the court and instructed to open up extra days because they violated the law and told people to go home. So that lawsuit was brought by the Republican National Committee, and it was successful. The Supreme Court ruled that Glenn Youngkin was successful. We are news people, even though we have opinions, and we have to report the whole story if we bring up part of the story. So yes, he's upset about Bucks County, but he was right, and he won in court. That's the story.
I'll let you keep going, Jonathan.
No, I don't appreciate being lectured about reporting when many times you come here saying lots of things that aren't.
I won't come back, Jonathan. I'm done. I'm done. This is the most unfair election ad I have ever been a part of. You guys are working. That's fine. I'm done.
So, Ruth, you wrote a column this week ending with this line, and actually, I think this is perfect. We're going to put it on the screen. You wrote, "You want to know the stakes of this election? Not only democracy, but decency."
Hugh Hewitt walks off, and whoever this guy is, I don't even know what his name is. He's completely irrelevant because he's hosting a live stream for a newspaper, which you might as well go outside and form smoke signals. More people would see it. Of course, this comes as the Washington Post completely denies any sort of endorsement, something they haven't done in decades because they know that Kamala Harris is terrible for the country, but you're not supposed to notice that. You're not supposed to notice. There's a lot of things you're not supposed to notice. There's a lot of that. You know what? Good on Hugh. I don't. Hugh Hewitt's one of these guys. He's like a radio guy, I think. You know, I'm sure he was great in his day, but, you know, time to move down the bench. Time to move down the bench. But you know what? Good for him. Good for him for saying, you know what? I'm not going to be a part of this charade anymore. I'm not going to be a part of it. Now, I think there's two ways to go about it, doing what Hugh Hewitt said, where he goes, no, Donald Trump was right. The Supreme Court agreed with him, and then it changed its ruling. I believe in staying and fighting. As a matter of fact, whoever the hell that guy is, have me on. We could have ourselves a damned good time. We could have ourselves a damn good time. But we're going to get to the thumbnail of this video today in just 1 second because Mark Cuban is he's an asshole. He's an asshole. And I don't know what I don't know where Donald Trump touched him, but apparently he's very, very upset. Very, very upset, which we'll get to in 1 second. Before we do, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. While you're there, consider becoming a monthly donor over there so that we can keep bringing you guys the content you guys want to see. Also, shout out to Jeremy Harrell doing a great job on the ground in Wisconsin outside of the Trump rally. Good stuff. So, Mark Cuban, who is doing everything he possibly can to look more and more like Rosie O'Donnell every single day. I'm going to put the thumbnail up just so you all can see it one more time. I genuinely can't tell these two people apart. Can you? Which one owns the basketball team and which one is a shitty mother? Oh, we're going to get to that in a minute. Don't worry. Rosie O'Donnell takes the cake for shittiest mother in America. Maybe not as bad as Susan Smith, but she's working on it. Yep, I said it. That's right. I said it. Trump blasts Mark Cuban for insulting women, saying that he is such a fool. Well, Kayleigh McEnany had some choice words. So did all the other strong, independent women who are supporting and work for Donald Trump. Here was Mark Cuban's stupid comment to the 5 ugly women on The View.
Donald Trump, you never see him around strong, intelligent women, ever. It's just that simple. They're intimidating to him. He doesn't like to be challenged by them.
Kayleigh. Mark Cuban. Okay, I had to take a breath before this because this is so profoundly offensive. I worked for Donald Trump. I consider myself a strong woman. I consider those around me strong women. Kellyanne Conway, Brooke Rollins, Ivanka Trump, Hope Hicks, Sarah Sanders. That's before we get to the women that Donald Trump elevated to very high levels, like Nikki Haley, who still supports him, like Amy Coney Barrett, who he put on the Supreme Court, or the women currently around him. Susie Wiles comes to mind, Caroline Leavitt. That is so offensive. And you know why? Because it's not just about the women who worked for him. He said the women around Donald Trump. This comes right after the Joe Biden garbage comment. Okay, the women around Donald Trump, what about the women who vote for Donald Trump? Are they weak? Are they dumb? Did Mark Cuban just insult any woman who supports Donald Trump? Because it's a little, very small step from that. And this is an official Harris campaign surrogate, Mark Cuban. That is misogynistic in my view. Get out of here, Mark Cuban. Kamala Harris, he's your surrogate. I want to hear from you. Do you agree the women are weak and ineffective, whatever he said? Get out of here. And I can't wait to hear from you, Kamala.
But you're not going to hear from Kamala, Kayleigh. You're not going to hear from him. You're not going to hear from her whatsoever. Matter of fact, let's just go over this. In the last week, you've been called Nazis. You've been called garbage. You've been called weak. And now, Anna Navarro over on The View, another Trump campaign, another Harris campaign surrogate, is just letting you know that, you know what, men, you're useless. Men, you're useless. Coming from 5 of the most useless bitches I've ever seen in my entire life. Yeah, I said it.
So there's this clip going viral online of a dozen women being asked the following question. Do we need men? Most answered very quickly, no. And only one said she thought women needed a man in their lives, only one. But when men were asked a similar question, do we need women, most of them said yes. So why do you think that is?
Because men are useless. I mean, and by the way, I want to differentiate between straight men and gay men, because I think I would die without gay men. Nobody can gossip like gay men. Nobody can help you accessorize like gay men. Nobody can help you keep you from doing harm to yourself like gay men. But with the exception of somebody like Steve, I think Steve is very self-sufficient.
That's Joy's husband.
But like
my
husband, it takes a village of women to make sure that he's not emaciated, starving, and living in his own filth. He can, you know.
Imagine talking about your husband like that. I mean, I guess that's the way you would talk about your husband if he hadn't touched you in a decade, because why would he want to? Imagine that. Imagine being her husband. He's probably driving home from work, contemplating how many different ways he can blow his own head off rather than go home to that witch all day long. Probably just sitting there going, I'm going to run this damn car right off of a bridge. Probably only sticks around because she makes enough money. It takes an army of women to make sure he doesn't live in his own filth. Imagine how emasculated that husband has to be. Ana Navarro, look, I don't believe in cheating. However, if your husband cheated on you, would anybody in the chat blame him? Hopefully, yeah, you were saying that at what, 11:15 in the morning? Hopefully he took the day off and was sleeping with the maid. Guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. I'm having a good day right now. Having a real good day. Get to make fun of the idiots on The View. Get to make fun of Mark Cuban, who, once again, does his damnedest to look like Rosie O'Donnell. We're going to get to Rosie O'Donnell in a second, but I want to make sure we stay on the Mark Cuban train here, because there were some women out there, some strong, independent women who had some choice words for Mark Cuban. Let's start out with Riley Gaines. Okay. Oh, wait, where did it go? Hold up. There we go.
Strong, intelligent female. All right, let's just unpack this really quick. Just in the past week alone, Trump supporters have been called Nazis by virtually every media outlet. We have been called garbage by the sitting United States president. And now Mark Cuban has come out and said there is no such thing as a strong, intelligent female supporter of Donald Trump because they don't exist. Respectfully, Mark Cuban, you would not know a strong, intelligent female if she slapped you across the face, which you're such a beta, you might actually kind of like that. So if you are a healthcare provider, if you are a school teacher, if you are a U.S. military member and you're a woman and a Trump supporter, then to Mark Cuban, you are stupid and weak. If this woman right here, Tulsi Gabbard, a lieutenant colonel in the U.S. Army, if this is not a strong, intelligent woman, then what is? Actually, I already know Mark Cuban's answer. This is who Mark Cuban believes to be a strong, intelligent woman. Although we really shouldn't be too surprised that a comment like this would come out of Mark Cuban's mouth, considering that he says border czar Harris has done a good job at the southern border, which maybe we just have different ideas of what constitutes as a good job. But to me, the illegal entrance of 13,000 murderers, 16,000 rapists, and the 320,000 missing children certainly doesn't fit the bill. It doesn't seem like continually disparaging more than half the country less than a week before Election Day is an effective strategy to get your candidate elected. But what do I know? I'm just a stupid, weak woman.
What does she know? She's just a stupid, weak woman who actually is a, few-time SEC champion in swimming, who is an SEC, all-academic team. Pretty smart. Here's Sage Steele, who, she came up in a very male-dominated field, got to the top of her game, stood up for herself, and then told everybody, "Van habla, buddy."
You never see Donald Trump around strong, intelligent women. That's the quote, Mark Cuban. I gotta say, I have known you and respected you and loved you for a really long time and have watched every single one of the comments you've made over the last several months. And I don't agree with them, but I respect them. And what you just said there is disrespectful and it crosses the line. How about Tulsi Gabbard? Let me ask you about Tulsi, your friend Tulsi, right? At the end of the day, if she had not left the Democratic Party, I bet that you would think that she's strong and intelligent, but because she crossed the line, she's not. Maybe more importantly, how about personally? We know each other. You and I sat next to each other. Remember at the IU basketball game when Bob Knight came back 4.5 years ago? Me and my daughter for a couple of hours, and you sat and you talked to, forget about me, how about my young daughter, who I think is intelligent, who looked up to you? How about your own daughters? What if someday they decide to think differently than you with their politics? Are they not strong and unintelligent? What is that? You talk about not being divisive, and look at what you're doing. Shocking, because I thought I knew who you were in your heart and your core. I know you're a damn good businessman, and this is just stupid. I don't get it, Mark. Not okay.
Not okay, Mark. But don't worry, guys. I could play so many of them. There's teams of these I could be playing right now. Strong, independent women that have actually stood up for themselves and stood up for what they believe in. But instead, I'm going to show you what Mark Cuban considers a strong, intelligent, independent woman who also happens to be one of the shittiest mothers in America. Say hello to Mark Cuban's doppelganger, Rosie O'Donnell.
Okay, so how's everybody's nerves about this election? You know, let's say on a scale of 10 being can't think of anything else and may need some additional medication, I'm like at a 7. I'm at a 7.
Additional medication. She needs additional medication. First off, what is that filter? It's not doing you any good. But and when did America sit there and think to themselves, oh, you know what? It makes me strong and intelligent and independent to have to be chemically medicated to even get through the day.
7. So that's all right. I can handle a 7. I'm trying not to watch so much of the news now. I'm trying to recite that amazing prayer you do in Al-Anon and AA about, you know, the wisdom to know the difference between the things you can and cannot change. And, you know, if you voted, if you donated, if you could, whatever you did, you participated, and now, you know, we got a week left to worry, and then it's in someone else's hands, you know. And I just think with all those people showing up for Kamala, I don't think it's as close as they're saying it is. I really don't. And I think that the dumpster, the hate rally manager, that guy, the orange dumpster fire, him, he's trying to set it up so that when she wins, he can say it was all voter fraud. But if we overpower them there.
Does that seem strong and independent to you? Now, many of you may be wondering, Kevin, why are you calling her a shitty mother? That's not nice. First off, I don't like Rosie O'Donnell, so I really don't care if she's nice or not. I don't like her on a plane. I don't like her on the train. But there's some evidence of that, because it turns out Rosie O'Donnell has turned her back on her own daughter, Chelsea, after her daughter got arrested for, y'all ready for this? Let's dive into this one. Rosie O'Donnell is distancing herself from her daughter Chelsea after she faces a slew of legal battles following 2 arrests within a month, leading to felony charges for drug possession and child neglect. Sources close to the situation reveal O'Donnell, who has had a strained relationship with her 27-year-old daughter, seems unwilling to step in and support her daughter. Child neglect. Well, what happened there? Chelsea has struggled with drug addiction for a decade. We're all hopeful that she'll get over the disease. Chelsea, a mother of 4 children, first called police in September after a dispute with her boyfriend that led to a chaotic incident. Upon arriving, authorities allegedly found her in her home in disarray and discovered Chelsea in possession of 18 grams worth of methamphetamine. She was subsequently charged with drug trafficking and child neglect. Rosie, who has known for her outspoken nature, has remained notably silent about her daughter's troubles. Instead, a Michigan acquaintance reportedly posted the $2,000 bail for Chelsea's release without any help from Rosie O'Donnell. Some may ask, where is the child? Turns out the child is in foster care. So Rosie O'Donnell can't even stand up for her own grandchild because she's too busy sitting back and making comments about the orange dumpster fire. Maybe worry a little bit less about what Donald Trump is doing and a little bit more about your speed-addled daughter who is leaving your grandchild covered in her own filth. We should listen to you on public policy. You can't control your own house, Rosie. A woman who, I want to be clear, hasn't been relevant since that ridiculous doll she came out with on a talk show host. Just about the easiest job on planet Earth, and Rosie O'Donnell still found a way to that up. Of course, she's out there saving the world, so she can't really help out her own family. Now, with that being said, some people out there are actually doing good things. One of those would be Tiffany Justice from Moms for Liberty, who decided to smack down some arrogant liberal woman on a News Nation town hall in front of Stephen A. Smith. I don't know why Stephen A. Smith is going on some of these networks. But before we get to that, guys, we're gonna save the real good one for the end. What you see the title about how an illegal immigrant raped a 5-year-old girl in Westbury, because I know there's a large local audience for that one. Before we get to that, guys, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. That is the best way to support this program and everything we've got going on. Also, guys, if you are one of our locals and you sign up locally, you will get the email about our election night party. That's going to be coming out tonight. Actually, I think I'm going to send an email out every night for the next couple of days. It's going to be in Lower Manhattan. Big news. You're not going to want to miss out on that. So, loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter over there. Giddy up. Let's go. Thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Have you early voted yet? I haven't said that in about 10 minutes. So make sure we say it again. So, Stephen A. Smith and Bobby Kennedy took part in a panel discussion on News Nation on Chris Cuomo's show. Now, none of you saw it because nobody watches News Nation. However, some smug liberal woman who thinks that the only issue that matters to women is abortion, because for some reason rich white women have only one concern, and that's how many of their kids can they kill. Tiffany Justice had a little bit of a little word for her.
Which candidate has the capacity to go like this to everybody? The person who isn't going to change their mind constantly? The person who didn't put Supreme Courts in justice that took my rights away? I don't even need to say that person's name. You know exactly who it is.
So, Jenna, let's get a balanced take on it. Tiffany Justice, co-founder of the Moms for Liberty. How do you believe the issue of not just reproductive rights, but where women are going to be in terms of what they will prioritize in this election?
Yeah, I think Jenna's right. I think American women are infuriated, and we're infuriated about the fact that only a third of children are reading on grade level in America's public schools. Where was My Body, My Choice during COVID? Yes. Right? So, it's almost 9 o'clock. We spent a lot of time talking about something that is now an issue for the states to handle. And I think it's time we start talking about where we really are in America when it comes to kids. And as far as Jenna's point about which candidate is going to put their arms around everyone, you know what I see? I was at MSG. I gave the invocation on Sunday, and I saw RFK there. I saw Tulsi Gabbard there. I saw people in that audience that have never voted Republican before in their lives, and they're coming together to support Donald Trump. So we're looking towards the future. We're very concerned about the health issues that we're seeing across the country, and making America great again, making America healthy again is something that American moms want.
Do you believe that?
I can watch that all day. Where was My Body, My Choice during COVID? Where was it? Where was that arrogant liberal white lady? She was nowhere to be found. Alas, there are a lot of people who are nowhere to be found when it comes to news and the happenings in the world. One of them is my local newspaper. One of them is my local newspaper and my local TV station. So, if you're watching News 12, we're going to play a little game right now. We're going to play a little game right now, Newsday. Let's throw Newsday up onto the screen here. Let's see here. Where we got here? Let's throw Newsday up on the screen. Where are we? Newsday.com. Now, some people will get mad at me for going after Newsday. I don't really care. I got to fix that. So here's Newsday.com, right? This is my local newspaper. The one that we all see. How many Long Islanders we got in the chat? This is the one we see when we go to the gas station. Now, we've got a tragic story about a trooper shot on the Southern State Parkway. Very good. Something about Medicare Part D. Turns out there's going to be a storm here. No way. Turns out the weather happens sometimes. We've got the Daniel Penny case. We've got the voter's guide for what you need. Let's keep scrolling. Let's keep it. We got early voting locations. We've got a new submarine named for Long Island to join the fleet. Big news. Big news. Something about a Long Island business selling Trump cookies. Luxury apartments. Are you guys missing anything here? Am I missing anything? Any big Long Island stories that I might be missing here? Because it turns out I can find one. Unfortunately, I've got to go over to the national news to find out that in Westbury, an illegal immigrant has been charged with the rape of a 5-year-old girl. He says in Long Island, it's on Long Island, we'll let that slide. The rape of a 5-year-old girl. So this unrelenting piece of shit, this guy here, who we ought hang publicly. Yeah, I said it. Let's dive into this story because it turns out Newsday I guess they couldn't find the column inches. They couldn't find the column inches to cover it. Let's see. Why don't we open the newspaper, the virtual newspaper here for Newsday. Let's see if there's anything in there, because, let's see. Let's see. What do we got? We got anything here? We got, no. Oh, look at that. Racism and its mental health impact on page 2. On page 2, because I don't know what the hell we'd do without that information. We've got stuff about the candidates. Long Island fighting leading its green energy efforts. Here's something about people running. I don't know why. That's something I need to know about. Let's see, something about a classroom. Scallops. Newsday found room to write half a page about scallops, but nothing about this piece of shit. Might that have something to do with the election? The fact that, I don't know, illegal immigration being a huge concern, and the fact that Manhattan Island has added 8.5% of their entire population over the course of the last 2 years in illegal immigrants alone. We don't know who they are. We don't know where they came from. We don't know what they're capable of. We don't know that Wilson Castillo Diaz, 26 years old, has now been charged with the rape of a 5-year-old in Westbury, Long Island. Details regarding the alleged crime have not immediately been made available to the outlet. The young child was taken to the hospital after the attack earlier this month. Diaz had been living in Westbury, which I don't know if any of you have ever been to Old Westbury, but that's like one of the most expensive places to live on the planet. He crossed into the country under the Obama administration in 2014. He was able to cross the border in Texas near the Rio Grande, police told the outlet. He was then taken into custody, was later released, and given a notice to appear in immigration court. But wait, Kev, I thought there was a little app they could use. There is. But it turns out he never showed up for his immigration hearing, like most of them. ICE has been informed of the arrest, police told the outlet, and thanks to people like Bruce Blakeman, we know this piece of shit is going to be sent back from whence he came. However, he knows he's got at least 3 months to get back into the country again, back to Westbury. Been living in the country for a decade. A decade. He's fleeing persecution. No, he's not. No, he's not. Democrats catch and release, guys. It's a fired up show today. Oh, and just in case you guys think I'm being a little bit obtuse here with my Newsday coverage, here's News 12. News 12, as local news gets. Unless it's snowing, then that's the only thing people care about. Here's News 12. All right, state trooper shot. Obviously, the top story today is the weather, because that's all Newsday knows how to cover. That's all News 12 knows how to cover. Let's keep scrolling. Oh, there it is. Right along the little ticker here. There we go. That'll be moved along here. I guess they can only spend a minute and a half covering this. Oh, no, look at this. Here's their little ticker. Back to the weather. It's hard to believe nobody trusts any of you anymore. It's hard to believe they come to places like me for news. Shit happens, guys. Guys, it's Friday. I'm going to let you guys go a little bit early. Ryan Mata coming up next here on LFA TV. I want to thank you guys all so much for tuning in. Hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out. Go to loudmajorityusa.com. I'll catch you guys back live on Monday. If you haven't voted, go vote. Bring people to vote. Until then, guys, stay loud.